Namaskar. Welcome to the series called as Stalwarts Speak of IIPL. Today we have the pleasure of having Shri Goluk Kumar Similiji, who is Chief Technology Officer with Passport Department under Ministry of External Affairs for Government of India. As all of us know, Goluk Kumar Similiji has more than 25 years of experience and has bagged several awards, I think more than 15 awards by now, for his wonderful contribution to the realm of e-governance, digital transformation, and tech policy concerns. Some of these very interesting awards are National E-Governance Award Gold, Digital Icon, and Digital Leader Award as well. As we know, Goluk Kumarji has been one of the pioneering leaders in transforming digital services of Passport Seva in our country. Today, we'll try to unravel various aspects of that from the filter of reform, perform, and transform. Welcome, Similiji.
Thank you, Professor Charu. Thank you.
Golukji, all of us know that you have an awesome professional journey of, I think, more than 2.5 decades. Okay, in various aspects like e-government, e-governance, digital transformation, public policy, and much more. So, I would like to go from the start. How did this professional journey start? And probably this could be an awesome, inspiring, tidbits for our beginners in the subject.
No, very interesting, Professor Charu. As you rightly asked, if I take you a little bit back, I have grown up from a village life, in fact.
Oh.
And I personally believe that villages are, the backbone of the country. They are the backbone of India's economy, not only in terms of economy, but very many other sense in terms of ecological balance, in terms of maintaining the environment, so on and so forth. Now, as I said, I grown up from a village. My schooling was completely in the village schools up to class 8.
Okay.
And only after class 8 I could move into the city, and from there on I did my 9th and 10th from the city.
Okay.
When I came to a city life, I was realizing that, oh, this is how the difference is between a village life and
Which village?
It was the Bikrampur, the state is Jharkhand.
Okay.
Bikrampur village. And then, as I said, when I moved into a city life, I could realize that, oh, there is a great difference. There is a huge difference between a city life and a village life. And many of the probably the things which which I am now accessible in a city life, it is not available there in the village.
Yes,
right?
True.
And probably I was also thinking that probably my professional growth could have been, by this time, could have been 2-3 steps higher.
Okay.
Provided I could have given those access of, let's say, newspaper, different kind of materials, books, and so on and so forth. And thereon, as you rightly said, then I started thinking, no, something I should do for my state, for my country, for public at large, for village life at large. And what is the best way forward for that? I mean, you have to grow yourself first.
True.
You have to make yourself first. You have to stand in the society first.
True.
And then probably then you start thinking to the contributing to the society, right? That's the way forward, I thought. And then that journey started. In the first attempt itself, I could qualify engineering, and I went into a engineering college, BIT Sindri.
Wow.
I completed 4 years of degree course there, and as I said, I first attempt cleared the engineering. I got a very good rank, and I got the computer science and engineering stream.
Okay.
And since I got into the computer science and engineering stream, so ICT became part and parcel of the life. So that's how the ICT is all about.
Okay.
And during those days, Professor Charu, during those days in the year 1988 to 1992, that was my engineering days, 4 years. Probably computer science was evolving. You will realize that computer science was evolving. Digital at large was evolving. We didn't have that much of kind of access to big applications or big databases or big network. You can realize that. But then, as I said, I had in my mind, I have to do something for the country at large. I'll definitely contribute to my citizens at large. And that's why probably I remain within the country in spite of having doing computer science and engineering, and then started whatever best possible for the country, for our citizens at large to kind of a benefit whatever way possible. One more thing I would like to add, interesting fact is, when we are doing the engineering, during those years, 88
Which year?
88 to 90,
Okay.
1992,
Okay.
we also realized that the education system in India, whether it is a kind of a engineering kind of a education, professional education, but still we found that there is a huge gap between the practicality and the theory which you read in the engineering colleges.
Oh, yes.
And then again I thought, I mean, how do we bridge that gap? How to bring in a practicality kind of a skill oriented kind of a education in India, in terms of even doing those engineering classes or engineering courses of 4 years? And how do we bring in industry participation? So that was the other thinking while I was studying itself.
Okay.
How do I bring in industry participant? Is that government alone can do? Is that government alone can deliver, or do we need something more? So that was another thing in mind, and probably these were the things which help us in the journey forward, saying that okay, that's how I should look into it. And then that's how the professional journey started. I got through a campus selection, and my initial job was in Delhi. That's what the Micro Clinic India Private Limited. And thereafter, I almost served mostly in public sectors, including Hindustan Petroleum, Industrial Finance Corporation, Rural Electrification Corporation. Then came after Hindustan Petroleum Corporation. Then I came into Reserve Bank for 2.5 years.
Okay.
And from Reserve Bank onward, then I became part of this e-governance.
Okay.
Right. And that was another story, how we became part of this e-governance team and all. Very interesting. I was part of that Reserve Bank India team. I was the project manager, and Government of India was conceptualizing the e-governance, National E-Governance Plan. You are aware of 2004-5.
Yes.
A team of senior bureaucrats, they visited to see the Indian financial network. That point of time that we were having, that is the biggest network, Indian financial network and the core banking application. You remember?
True.
And fortunately, I was looking both the thing,
okay.
and I was explaining to those team who went to Reserve Bank to see these two
4-5.
things. Yes.
So Golukji, you have substantial experience in public sector now, in working with government, etc. And you know the present e-governance mantra, with specific reference to governance as a whole, is RPT: reform, perform and transform. So let us pick up the first nugget, which is reform. With regard to reforms, with specific reference to Passport Seva, what are the major reforms which this initiative has undertaken, which has helped the whole setup to become the world leading example of digital transformation?
Thank you so much for bringing these questions. As I said, even before, let me take you a little back before Passport Seva. As I said, when we were part of this national e-governance team, the idea was that point of time to have the core and common infrastructure for the country. And
CSCs.
Yes, and then that point of time we conceptualized SWAN, state data centers, common service centers. And once these kind of a core infrastructure as part of NEGP came into fora, then the next thing was, now what next? Now the next is the applications.
Content. True.
Content, applications. You need application. And then come across your developing of those mission mode projects.
True.
Right? And why mission mode projects? Again, you can ask me why the name mission mode, because traditionally things were not happening. Earlier also traditionally things were not happening.
They were happening, but they were happening in sporadic.
Silos.
A flash in the pan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then we thought, let's give a mission mode approach to the program, and Passport Seva was one of the mission mode
projects, MMPs.
And then kind of again, it's kind of I have been sent to the Passport Seva program to see that this mission mode program is taken up comprehensively, successfully. And the day I joined Passport Seva program, That and when the DPR and RFP was happening, that point of time we are part of the Ministry of IT, that
DIT at that time.
DIT that point of time, and we had that point of time Program Management Unit, PMU under the DIT.
True.
Right? And these files, the kind of a passport seva DPR and all used to came to DIT, which again we were looking those, and I never thought that I'll become part of that program later part.
MMP.
But then when I joined, RFP were ready, award was just kind of awarded to Mrs. Tata Consultancy Services.
Okay.
And let me also put on record saying that our NISG, National Institute of Smart Government, did a fantastic job preparing that DPR and RFP. And when I joined, as you rightly asked, saying that my first thing on mind, or the first questions which are hovering on my mind is, how do we bring in a comprehensive reform, which you rightly asked. Now, let me say, what does it mean when we say a comprehensive reform? There are 3-4 things which we wanted to go away with. The first and foremost thing was, like we are discussing, we wanted to go away with the silos available.
True.
Right? Disjoint, silos, disintegrated. So we said nothing doing. We have to go away with this. Disintegrated, disjoint, silos, right? So that was the first thing.
First point.
The second thing as part of reform process is, if I am planning for this, is the existing infrastructure, system, infrastructure, applications available, is capable enough to do that.
Okay.
Right? So that was the second thing. And we realized that no, the existing infrastructure, system, whatever it is having as part of legacy, these are not capable the kind of reform we are looking for.
Great.
So the second thing was this point, right?
Mm.
Then the third point was always on mind that where are we missing, right? Where are we missing when we are taking these kind of a massive program?
Okay.
Then the third thing is that the missing point was the focus area is making, and focus area is always the citizens.
Citizens, great.
Citizens at the core.
Yes.
Right? People at the core.
True.
That focus area was missing.
Missing, right.
So he said, no, nothing doing. Let's keep citizen at the focus, people at the focus, and then think around.
Wow.
Then think around, right?
Yeah.
So that was the third point.
Right.
And then naturally, then last thing came on, saying that to do all those things, what do I need?
Okay.
To do this reform exercise, entire comprehensive kind of exercise, what do I need? I must need, no manual thing will not work. No traditional thing will not work. Then what do I need? I need two more things.
Right.
One is I need a business model.
Wow.
Innovative business model.
True.
Which will
to
help
make it
me,
work.
yes, to make it work and to deliver this kind of a exercise which I am looking for. And the second thing was the ICT, the digital. I could only achieve this through digital
technologies,
through digital means, right? And thereon, then we started working on those 5 parameters.
So, if I can repeat it for my audience.
Yes, please.
The first one was the silos, the segregated silos. Second, very important point was the legacy.
Correct.
The existing systems were not in shape to accept this. Third was to bring back the core focus to citizens.
Absolutely.
Citizens as the prime beneficiary.
Absolutely.
And then you realize technology is the way forward, because that's the only way everything could fall in place.
Yes.
And the last was?
Business model.
Business model.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very important, because as I said, traditional way of budgeted money was not working.
Not going to work.
Traditional way of capital expenditure was
not going to work. Very true.
So then we were thinking of an innovative business
New
model.
way of looking at
where
things.
it is not day one, where how the program is sustaining over
throughout.
time. Yes.
So that is the crux of reforms.
Right. And then, as I said, we are always keeping the person at the core, the people
Citizen
at
as
the
the
core.
core.
It is not only in terms of connecting them, it is not in terms of empowering them, but also providing them a facility for passport services where they feel ki, okay, there is a government, there is an office which is equipped with everything, a baby care room, a AC room, no, there is a
Yes, we
sitting
see the
place.
difference.
Yes, so there is somebody there to care
The
for
lines
me,
have
right?
disappeared and we
So,
are comfortable as citizens.
yeah,
So these are reform areas. I really
absolutely. So the
appreciate.
entire facilities and amenities,
Yeah,
no,
are provided
apart
from the
from
focus
the,
of citizen.
absolutely.
Golukji, you have brought such a huge perspective into such a crisp one. I really appreciate. So I come to another crisp question. Okay, from your vast experience of Passport Seva, what do you think are the key performance indicators that are responsible for performance of a huge setup like a Passport Seva is?
No, I must appreciate Professor Charu saying that. No, that's how I like interacting with you. Saying that, no, when it comes to KPIs,
Right. Mm.
the best part is in the Passport Seva program. As I said, no, when I was looking to deliver, perform, and then no, whatever we are looking the throughput and outcome,
Mhm.
the KPIs for us were there are four main KPIs.
Sure.
The first and foremost thing is I was always looking that
Mm.
what is that citizen is looking for me in
Okay.
terms of service delivery.
True,
Right
true. Very
now,
interesting.
when I say in terms of service delivery, they are looking three things.
Right.
Right,
Mm.
speed,
Mm-hmm.
transparency,
True.
right, speed, transparency, and
Mm.
accountability. These are the three factors which they are looking, which you are not provided for in the legacy system.
Mm.
Right. The second thing is the second KPI which we are looking for is no, it is not the ministry alone. It is not the ministry alone.
True.
What it happened in the legacy system,
Mm.
whatever ministry thought, whatever passport division at large they thought,
Mm.
the other dependencies that we called stakeholder ecosystem.
True.
Right?
Okay.
That stakeholder ecosystem was never working.
Okay.
So the second KPI which we are looking is how do I bring in a stakeholder ecosystem to work
together
and to
Okay.
work.
Okay.
They should work hand in hand with
And
it.
with each other.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the third KPI was if I have to do this, as I
True.
said, if I have to do this, I was needing a kind of a world class infrastructure to deliver.
You said so.
Right?
True.
And this world class, not only the infrastructure, but the kind of manpower requirement we have.
Very true.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
The skilled manpower we are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then the third very important factor was training, capacity building, and change management.
Exactly.
Right?
I was thinking
that was the very important factor, key factor which we had to
change
deliver.
management.
Yes, all training,
capacity building,
change, whatever you name it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then the last thing was, when we are doing all those things, right? The idea was, it is not me and Professor Charu. It is the citizen. Are they feeling connected?
Very true.
Are they feeling connected? Are they feeling empowered? Are they feeling inclusive to this ecosystem which we are developing?
So the last mile connectivity, the person in the last street.
Yes, I always say that the person standing at a corner of a village, can I make feel of that person the same experience a person availing the same services from Delhi or Mumbai?
Gandhiji's talisman. Yes. Okay, you should always remember the last poorest of poor.
Absolutely.
So
and as
if
I
you
said,
can give the same experience.
I was comparing with myself also because I have grown up from a village life.
Very true. That helped you a lot.
That helped me a lot.
Because you knew the grassroots reality.
I know the grassroots reality.
True, true.
How do I achieve that? How do I reach them?
Excellent.
Right? So that's how we progress.
So Golukji, when you talked about this last mile person, you talked about the poorest man in the street should have the same experience as a person who's sitting in the urban confines in the safety of their house. Could I delve deeper into a particular case study? If you recall, I'm not compelling you. Any particular case study which you recall with pride where that particular poor man or women in the rural area has benefited from the performance of digital passport seva?
No, absolutely. I think very interesting.
Hmm.
Saying so, there are plenty, and no,
Okay.
it is
I'm
there
sure.
available on my portal. I mean,
Okay. You put them
one
there?
can, yes, it's
Arey,
already
wow.
there.
Okay.
So, but I can quote 2, 3.
Sure. I'll look forward.
One of the example I can straight away quote saying that there was a day when I got a call from a remote village saying that, and that poor chap was not even able to speak properly Hindi.
Okay.
But then he said, sir, somehow I got your
Phone
contact,
number.
and because our contacts are there on the portal,
website.
he said, no, I have been misled by a agent terribly.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Then I
Which
said,
year was this?
This when we started, roughly around 2013 or so.
Okay.
So then we said, no, what has happened? What has happened? No, he said the agent told us saying that no, whatever I am doing for you, I am doing for a genuine passport services. He took my money and all.
Okay.
But nothing happens. No, I am getting nothing out of it. No SMS, nothing. So he just took the money. So then suddenly it struck us saying that, is it happening that also? I mean, in spite of launching the passport seva and all. Then we said, no, what has happened? Can you tell little further? He said, oh, agent ka number wo uthata hi nahi hai, and now he is vanished.
And he's taken the money?
Taken the money.
Oh, agents. Okay.
So I said, how come it happens? Then we found that these kind of bad elements are not only for him. There are many such bad elements.
Obviously,
are walking,
we keep
right?
reading about that.
Probably somehow he got into us and then brought it to our notice. And because we have done mandatory, the citizen has to file the application form online.
True.
Imagine of a citizen who do not have a computer or internet.
No literacy.
No literacy.
To use that machine. True. So he goes to the middleman.
Absolutely. So I started thinking, saying that, oh, this is the one route which these people are exploiting. Our poor chap, village chap, illiterate masses and all, they are exploiting this. Then I thought, no, nothing doing. No, we have to do something for this.
Okay, what did you do?
Then what we did, we started thinking that now how do we create these many channels at the village level, so that the person as I said, at the village also get access to computer, internet and all, so and so forth. And luckily, and that's why I always say that we have to think as a government ecosystem.
True.
Right?
Not as silos.
Not as silos. When you are thinking of this kind of a massive service delivery kind of a system.
I agree.
And that point of time, in count, we were having 65,000 common service centers across the country.
I remember that.
Right? We started immediately talking with this common service center of METI.
Okay.
We said, let integrate.
Okay, that was the time.
Yes, let integrate. We started integrating with the common service centers, successfully integrated, gave a huge advertisement in local language, regional language, whatever language possible. Right? We asked our passport officers, give a huge advertisement.
That's very interesting.
So that people know, saying that no,
you can go to common service centers.
I must not go
to a tout.
To the agent or tout. There is a government channel available.
Wow.
He will only charge 100 rupees. Right? And see the beauty when you this kind of a exercise. How do you leverage a government ecosystem? After some time, we realize that no person is going to the agent. Everybody is approaching to the common service center. And in a result, what had happened, the same travel agent and internet kiosk, which they were earlier charging, let's say, just to fill up the form 1,000 rupees, 1,500 rupees, wherein my passport fee itself is 1,500 rupees.
Okay.
They found that nobody is coming to me. They started charging 50 rupees to fill the form.
Okay.
Just imagine.
From 1,000 to...
How can you change? How can you change, bring in a change?
Agile.
Did nothing, just explore the facility available of a government.
Yes.
Explored it, integrated it, made the citizen feel, saying that no, this is a ministry who
Awareness
thinks for
was
me.
there. Awareness
Yes.
was. You said you
This is-
used newspapers and
So this is one of the example,
very good.
right?
Excellent.
Similarly, I can quote such many examples.
No, what I
where
like about this example, Golukji, is that you've been able to learn from the
Yes,
example and cascade it to a transformation.
Absolutely.
You know, reform,
Absolutely.
perform, transform.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
you learned from this
Yes.
and you brought a
And-
change.
and the thing strike to us is
Hmm.
the citizen who is suffering, how do I give a
Yeah,
solution?
you said that. Core focus is citizen.
We should have simply ignored it, saying that, okay, aap chale jao, aap bhar lo form, so and so forth.
No,
But
no,
we
I
didn't do
understand.
that.
So, taking forward this mantra of RPT, reform, perform, and transform, let us go do a little crystal gazing. Okay. With special regard to Passport Seva, what do you think is the next way forward for your department under your leadership and others to use new age technologies or emerging technologies or frontier technologies to make a change, a tangible transformation to the existing initiative?
Oh, absolutely. Professor Charu, this is what probably we are thinking every day and night.
True.
What next?
What next?
What is the next level
What
of citizen
next?
experience?
Exactly.
Right?
UX.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. So there, then we are now thinking,
Mhm.
but then let me put a cautious mark here,
Mhm.
saying that whenever you are thinking of next level of technological intervention, right?
Mhm.
And I always say that we have interacted before also,
Mhm.
whether you are looking for AI, exploring AI ethics, analytics, big
Mhm.
data, blockchain, cloud as a option.
Mhm.
Whenever you are thinking to try leverage a next level of these kind of advanced technology, emerging technology, the cautious mark here is
Mhm.
you first must learn and graduate yourself,
Okay. Become
right?
mature.
Mature yourself, right? Once you have that maturity level,
Mhm.
right, then you try attempt these kind of emerging leveraging technology, because of the
understand.
fact that
Mhm.
suddenly if you are approaching this new emerging technology, your backend is not ready, your process reform has not been done, your policies are not intact,
Your people are not ready.
your people in skilling, reskilling has not been, change
The-
management has not been done, right?
Uh-huh.
How are you attempting
I
this?
agree.
But
Mhm.
then in Passport Seva, now we are at a stage, as you
Mm.
rightly said, now we'll explore all, for an example, we'll see that
Mm.
the next version will explore a lot of AI engine, right?
Wow.
In terms of taking decisions,
Mhm.
in terms of dealing with the citizens,
Oh.
in terms of making my top management actionable insights, whatever
Okay.
you name it,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Same thing we'll do a lot of with analytics engine. Analytics engine, when I say, it is not only the structured data set which I available, but I
Unstructured.
explore all the unstructured data set
That's
floating
very
around the
impressive.
cyberspace,
That's very impressive.
right? But then, as I said, when you are exploring these kind of exercise, the unstructured data set, the major problem is you must understand the veracity and noise of the
Of the
unstructured
data.
data sets.
Mm.
And how do you do that?
How
You
do
can only do that provided, as I said, your
Mm.
entire mapping is in place in
Mhm.
terms of processes, in terms of policies, in terms
okay.
of taking decisions. Your backend is working, and you have reached up to a stage. When I say you have reached up to a stage, means you remember we have started from silo days, then consolidation, then automation days probably,
Performance,
and
reform.
then yes. So unless you have reached up to a automation stage,
Mhm.
how are you trying to explore these new
I
and
agree.
emerging technology?
Actually, I'm reminded of Golukji. Remember those diagrams we used to make
Absolutely,
as computer
absolutely,
entity
absolutely.
relation diagram, data flow
Absolutely,
diagram,
absolutely.
flow
Yeah,
charts.
yeah,
So you map them well,
absolutely.
and that happens only when you're clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, if people and processes are not clear,
Not clear.
so I agree with you. Thanks a lot for sharing e-passport from filter of RPT, reform, perform, and transform. Now let us come to the umbrella program. You have very good experience about National E-Governance Plan, and then you've been such an important visionary and team leader in terms of Digital India program also. So can you, for my audience, evaluate Digital India program for its strengths and limitations with special reference to present COVID day times?
No, absolutely. I think again a very pertinent, no, very
Mm.
to the point question.
Mhm.
As far as digital India at large, if we see,
Mhm.
Professor Charu,
Mm.
uh, to me again, to
Mm.
me, like you progress from a project, then to a
Mm.
program, and then
Yeah.
to from a
Mm.
program to then linking with the
Umbrella.
umbrella and
Mm.
other ministries and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
Similar is the case with the Digital India. Now the good part of the Digital India
Mm.
initiative which government of India has taken
Mm.
is there are three four kind of a core thing pillars which will drive to the Digital India to the next level.
Yeah.
The first and foremost pillar is, as I said, as part of Digital India program, you will see that
Mm.
more and more we say what is a core and common platform, whether it is a Aadhaar, whether it is a DigiLocker,
India
no
Stack.
platform or platform, India Stack,
Take.
no UPI,
UP.
Bhim,
E-Rupee recently.
e-rupee.
Yeah.
So these platform we say
DigiLocker.
DigiLocker. Yes, I named it.
Uh,
So they will come into fora and
uh,
you'll see that applications
mhm.
departs when ministry will have various application, various services,
Right, right.
research institute, academia, they will
Mm.
leverage this platform to the
Yeah.
maximum, and
True.
they will gain from each other, right?
True. Very
So that is
true.
one area which government
Of
is looking at large,
I
and
totally agree.
I find there is an enormous and opportunity towards that direction, right?
Mhm.
The second very important area I find as part of Digital India we must look is now we must move forward towards a developing. You have heard earlier like ACZ, right? A special economic zone,
Oh, okay.
right?
Okay. Huh.
Now the demand of the time
EMC
is,
also,
yes,
electronic
yes,
manufacturing
yes.
clusters.
The
True, true.
demand of the time is how do we develop a cloud economic zone? How do we
Gee.
develop a data economic
That's so
zone?
interesting. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is the area
We
where
are moving forward to.
absolutely, and
Wow.
there I think we need to frame policies. There we
Yes.
need to frame no kind of a framework. There we have to develop business model, new business
Gee.
model. There we have to develop new ecosystem
Mm.
where probably no right from startups to SMEs to MSMEs we can link that. And
Mm.
I always say that digital economy, Digital India is not at all about IT and ITS sector alone. It
Yeah.
is about how do you bring in your core sectors as part of the digital
Mm.
economy. And
Mm.
when I say core sectors, whether it is agriculture sector, health
Manufacturing.
sector, education sector, manufacturing sectors,
Mhm.
whatever, retail sector, whatever you name it,
Excellent.
and the potential is enormous.
Yeah.
Let me quote one example.
Yeah.
The research and the various papers are saying
Innovation. Mhm.
that only agriculture sector alone,
Mhm.
if you can bring in that kind of intelligent transformation through the digital intervention,
Mhm.
right, the agriculture sector alone has the potential of multiplying up to 70 times.
I'm sure, Golukji,
And 70,
agriculture stack
yes,
is there. I just heard Minister announcing
absolutely.
agriculture stack from E-Naam. They've
Yeah,
decided to move
absolutely.
to
And the
agriculture stack.
potential you just see, the agriculture sector alone has a
Hmm.
capacity and capability to deliver almost US $70 billion, 70
Wow.
times.
Wow.
I'm just naming one sector,
Okay.
right?
That's a
So
great number.
how do you develop this kind of a digital economy, which government of India has aiming almost 1 trillion of digital economy by
Yes.
2025,
I totally agree.
right?
Even I am a great follower and champion of Digital India, like you
Absolutely.
are, and we are moving, as you said,
And
platform approach.
one more second I'll take
Uh,
that the third core area I
mm,
named two. The third core area will
mm.
be 5G network and hyperscale data centers. These
Ah.
are the two other very core important pillar you will see.
Golukji, I totally agree with you, and I really respect this point of view of moving India towards a stack economy or a platform economy, where we are able to fulfill our Honorable Prime Minister's ambition of having $5 trillion
Yeah,
economy. Okay, and the society is also becoming digital
yeah.
society. We've seen in pandemic times. However, as an avid researcher in the field of cybersecurity and privacy, how do you perceive to handle the challenges, the cyber challenges of being in the digital world? And what are the countermeasures we can take as individuals, as organizations, and as a country to combat this fifth cyberspace, which is rambling with the cyber threats?
No, Professor Charu, I really admire your questions on this,
Okay.
saying that, as you rightly said, more and more we are moving towards a digital society.
True.
More and more digital India, kind of going into next step, next level. Cyber security challenges, cyber security threats.
Yeah.
It's not only country at large, but I and you as an individual,
As
right?
individuals, true.
We are all are probably part and parcel of that threat,
Mhm.
part and parcel of that cyber security menace, which is
Mm.
impacting every one of us.
Mm.
And in my view, cyber security has to be dealt holistically.
Okay.
I always say that cyber security can't be dealt in silos. No, it has to be
Yeah.
dealt holistically.
Okay.
Now, let me say, what does I mean by holistically?
Mhm.
I have always experienced that, especially in these kind of a organization or ministries or department,
Mm.
suddenly you start looking into cyber security without knowing your 4Ws: when, what, how, and
Where?
where.
Okay.
So you must know what are you doing, what are you protecting for, what is
Okay.
your strategic resource, what is your sovereign
Ah.
resource, what is your data, what do you really understand your even data points, from where are they coming from,
Great. Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
So these 4W, unless you first clarify yourself, classify yourself,
Okay.
categorize yourself,
Mm.
go into detail,
Mm.
how do you start building the cyber security suddenly?
Very well said.
Some consultant, some vendor will come and tell you, I can
Exploit
provide
you.
this,
Perimeter
that. Yeah,
security, network security, endpoint
Yes.
security.
But then
Ah.
crux of the matter is, first
Holistic.
I must know what is my data, what is my information, what is my workforce, what is my workload, what is my content, as you said, what is my web. Unless I know this, how do I develop that framework? First principle.
Mm.
Second principle of cyber security is, I always say that I also must know my risks assessment, my risks. What is the kind of risks I am carrying in terms of business risks, in terms of people risks, in terms
Okay.
of process risks,
Okay.
in terms of technology risks,
Okay.
in terms of legacy risks.
Oh.
Tell me, Professor Charu, how many of us department is doing this risk assessment exercise?
It needs a proper matrix approach.
Absolutely, a matrix approach. You need a framework,
Great.
right?
Very well
That is
said.
the second very important.
Okay.
Once you do these two things, then third very important thing is develop a, I always say that, information security management policy document.
Ah.
And that document, I don't want 200 pages, 300 pages. Prepare a 30, 40 page
Crisp.
document,
Ah.
which you can adhere, which you can make it real time, which you can exercise, which you means your people can follow.
Organization.
Organization understand that 30-page document. Organization understand that digital ethics.
Of hygiene and cyber safety. So you're talking about ISMP.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
once you do these three things, then probably you now start thinking, saying that, okay, now how do I develop my cyber security framework? For an example, for me, I have developed 7 layers of security.
For passport.
Right? Yes. Right from data layer to host layer to network layer to perimeter layer, you are naming it, to physical security, to security operations center 27 by control.
SOC.
And then I have all this binded with legally framework, binding laws, frameworks, rules, and then it is also certified by ISO 27001.
Great.
So you have to take a holistic approach. You have to take an approach which you can adhere. I always say that security is not about preparing some document.
Firewalls or virus,
No, nothing.
antivirus. No.
Security is all about, are you 24/7 monitoring?
Alert.
Are you adhering? Very important. Are you adhering to that? Whatever you have written, right?
True. So
Are your
well.
people adhering? Are citizens adhering?
So you monitor that
Yes,
throughout.
absolutely.
Okay. So you plan well, you
Yes.
understand,
Yes.
then you prepare to
Correct.
implement,
Yes.
and then you check adherence.
Absolutely.
That's so
Absolutely.
interesting.
And then last part I'll also touch upon, saying that I always say that when it comes to the data, ultimately you are protecting the data.
Data. True.
You must have a vibrant, good data governance model. We have discussed before,
I know that.
right? and probably some other day we'll take this.
Mm.
How do you create a good and vibrant data
That's
governance
so
model?
interesting. So, what you're trying to say, cybersecurity on its own is not to be considered. Again,
Absolutely.
holistic
A
approach.
holistic
And we
approach.
need to map all the things well. We need to monitor all the things well.
Absolutely.
And we need to have policies which should be adhered to.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
you have
Mm.
just reminded me saying that cyber security, you always take a last option, no? You
Hmm.
do everything and then last you'll say, oh,
Oh,
auditor
uska
dekh
kya
lega.
karna? हाँ.
Cyber security must not be left by audit.
Right.
Cyber security has to be by design.
Design.
Cyber
Wow.
security has to be intrinsic.
Hmm.
Whether you are writing a RFP, whether you are writing a DPR, whether preparing any infrastructure, data center, network, every segment, every layer, it has to be intrinsic. It is by design.
Great.
It is not by audit.
I think that's a wonderful takeaway. Cybersecurity by design.
Yes.
Thank you, Golukji. I'm sure my audience has also enjoyed this interesting technical discussion in a very non-technical, user-friendly manner. And more eons of success to you, Golukji. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.